Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 41 and the first one of our new series of 20 different keys. The key 41 is about death, and we could add as an extra title, Death, the subtle message of the living or afterlife. All right, as usual, we're gonna try to define the concept of death in general, then also the field of application, and then some techniques and advice to be more in peace with this notion and this taboo. So, first of all, I really need to clarify something. What's the reason for being of this approach and this video is basically the fact that it is taboo and a delicate topic, okay? There are especially two essential and existential taboo in life, which are death and sex. Sex is concretely giving birth at the end, okay? And death is the end, apparently, of the materialistic life, okay? Both are combined because it is the alpha and omega, okay? The full vision. Concretely, death is a taboo and it should not. In the sense, this is the implementation, the application of the duality in real life, in practice, okay? Why? How come? But actually, this is like light, yin and yang, you know, okay, for having the wall. And we could consider the living, the life with a capital letter is the sum of life plus death, okay? It's like when you have apple pie or let's say strawberry pie and so on. You don't just eat the fruits, right? It would be rude, right, for the cooker. It's the same principle. Ignoring death, or let's say bury our head in the sound to avoid to see it, in a certain extent, is just to run away and to flee it, and not to appreciate life in the entirety, okay? Entirety. Actually, imagine the beauty of the sunrise or the sunset. And imagine it's eternal, and every time it's rising, rising, rising. There is no actually beauty in it if it's always the case. Okay, we appreciate the sunrise because there is a sunset, okay? We appreciate to go for holidays because we know it's for a short period of time, for a stay. If you go to Maldives or Seychelles and so on, imagine you go for 1 week, you're happy, 2 weeks, okay, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, all your life. Most of you wouldn't like. It's the same principle. Would you appreciate life if it were eternal? Probably not. Also because you would be more involved in a process of appreciating it, because it will be there. You know, most of people in Paris, I lived there for 7 years. I've been surprised when I arrived because a lot of Parisian people from Paris, local people, they never went to Eiffel Tower because it's there at the disposal. So they say, okay, I can go tomorrow, I can go anywhere, anytime. But the tourists, they're only there for 1 week, 2 weeks, and so on. Most of the time they go there because, so they activate. It's not only from the potential. You understand the point? So this is concretely a taboo, which is especially in the Western world, because half of the planets, half of the population in the world is celebrating death, okay? And this is interesting. We have two beautiful butterflies. They are just playing like a love story, butterfly effects, maybe, who knows. Anyway, beauty of the living, just inviting himself. Gorgeous. So this is very important to perceive like this. The celebration of death, not for the pleasure to be a Satanist and so on, not at all, just to be in peace. What is written on the tombs is written RIP, okay, rest in peace. But nobody thought about the importance of living in peace. And how come we can be in peace? Clean up, okay, forgiveness, the forgiveness, okay, thanks to the forgiveness, the cleanup, okay, as we saw in the key number 8, number 9, the liberation of the ego, number 10, and so on, okay, the forgiveness in general, it was the key 33, and so on, okay, so to be in peace now and to release, I mean, to neutralize, to discharge the negative energy, okay, the burden that we have from the trauma, from the bad experience of life in general, everybody have, okay, but this literally affect, like, down to earth, the matter, it's avoidance for us to have our normal, let's say, to ascend, okay, and if you clean up all this, you rise your vibration and you're more lighter, okay, weightlessness, sorry. And in a certain extent, to be in peace, to rest in peace, it's good as well to clean up before, okay, and to live in peace. And especially why this taboo is so prevalent is because actually, and this is presented always like this. It's like we avoid death like the plague, okay? It's like it's the symbol of death is okay, the bones, but also especially the grim reaper. Okay, what is it? No, faceless, no face. We even don't want to see it. Okay, we don't want to celebrate around the body. We don't want to kiss the body and so on. It's like a stone. It's cold, okay, because there is no animation. There is inside, anima in Latin, it means literally the soul. I mean, the soul of, let's say, the present time and the energy, but probably there is something else beyond that we cannot perceive it. To make it short, concretely, and once again, I'm going to try to be really delicate because I can imagine that everybody have had a bad experience with death, okay? This is the contract we have to, when we arrive here, okay, you know, on the cigarette, the packets of cigarettes, it's written smoking kills. We should put living kills, okay? The more you live, and the more chance you have to die. And even that, you know, I'm 41 years old, and I'm very surprised sometimes. I say to myself, wow, it's so great to reach already more than 40 years. Why? Because you have so many occasions to pass away, to die, an accident on the street and so on. And the goal is not necessarily to focus all the time on that, but just to be aware that everything can disappear like this. And then it's not stressful, it's just highlighting the life and the beauty of life in general. You know, personally, every single morning when I wake up, normally it's still dark because it's 3:30, 4 o'clock, depending. But when I see the first lights, what is my landscape? This is the volcano. The volcano destroyed everything here, okay? A few years back, in 2004, there was a tsunami. I'm living at 5 kilometers from the beach. And every single morning, you know, it's like a vaccine. You inject a little bit of the disease. Every single morning I think about that, the volcano, and the fact we could be overwhelmed by a deluge, a tsunami, or whatever. Do you think I'm stressful? Do you think, or earthquake as well? We have several, we had several ones. I experienced maybe 10 of them here. Okay, you just realize that nothing is stable and nothing is permanent as well. And you can lose everything just like this. Okay, do you think I feel stressful? Not at all. It just like pushing me to say to myself, okay, present time. The present is a gift. Embrace it now, grasp it now, understand it, okay, share it. Okay, this is the point. And every single day I say, thank you, we're gonna play. And this is possible that something wrong happened, but it doesn't affect my mood. In the contrary, I'm just living more entirely and also deeper. Okay, this is very important for me. There is basically two schools, two perception, two concept, two ideas. Then there is, of course, shades. But to be really binary, okay, some people, the idea that's death, okay, we die, and then it's, let's say, darkness, okay, it's nothingness. This is curtain, okay, nothing. You have no consciousness anymore, you're not aware about anything, and you're out of the game. But even out should be that you are somewhere because you're out of the, well, anyway, you don't exist anymore. This is the first one. And that's why it's so taboo, because just imagine this. This can be scaring, right? And the second school, the second perception, concept, and idea, there is something after. That's why we call it here after, okay? Here after. There is something like some people define it as paradise, some people define it as hell for those according to the vibration. It can be a mix as well, it can be just a period of time, but there is no time over there. But anyway, just a certain period compared to here, let's say, but it's in the present time. So anyway, just to say, for a while, we could say, even if it's not true, let's say, the reality, but anyway, you understand my point. I'm wordless for that concept, but just to say that or and reincarnation afterwards. Okay, you have a rest, you just you pass away, and then you are just in a period of observation, analysis of your experience, like you visualize what you did, what you didn't do, what you should have done, and so on, like resilience, corrective action, and so on. And then if you feel comfortable with that, you can just rest in peace, just like vacation, and just, and second option, you can go back down to earth for continuing to learn, to experience, and or just to help people. Some people are human angels, and some of them even ignore it, okay? And it's just that, just to help people to find themselves, to let's say, to rise themselves, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so two schools, nothingness, or there is a hereafter, basically. One thing, just for you, Einstein, the great scientist, which is not dummy person, is smart person, he has really a rational approach in the protocol of research and so on, he declared the following thing: I believe in the life after death, basically because energy cannot die. It circulates and transforms and never ends. This is very close to what the French philosopher Lavoisier says. Nothing is created, nothing is destroyed, everything is transformed, except that we perceive it as only on the materialistic perception and vision. But Einstein is just enlarging the perspective with the notion of energy. And it's a matter of fact. The energy never disappear. You cannot break an energy, okay? And even the nuclear, it's just you always have a fragmentation, shorter and shorter, even if it's invisible. So we can consider that our emotions, our past, and so on, emotion, E equal mc2, okay, the formula of energy, emotion in movements. In a certain extent, apparently, nothing in lusts, okay, it's somewhere in the collective unconsciousness, okay, or the collective unthinking, whatever we call it, or Plato's world of ideas, or Akasha for Hindu, whatever, okay, in the clouds, the morphic fields, whatever. So, why the field of application of this notion is to be, I told you, in peace with death, in the sense not to wait for it, of course not, but to appreciate light, like highlighting light, okay? It's the fact really to say, okay, I can lose everything tomorrow or today, so I don't procrastinate my happiness, or to enjoy, or to say to people, I love you, or and nothing to lose, no time to waste. That's the point, is to be more, to live more with intensity, deeply, actually. The second point is to accompany someone in the notion of grief, okay, bereavement, okay, is to help to reassure, in the sense that, of course, there is probably, it can be, according to this perception of energy, something after. So even if the communication is a little bit more subtle, okay, with the ancestor and so on, there is still something. There is a thin membrane in between this word and other, let's say, field of consciousness and, let's say, fields of existence, okay? Do we contest the fact that we don't see, we just see from 400 hertz and 800 hertz, that's to say the infrared and the ultraviolets. You don't see the Wi-Fi, you don't see the radio, FM, free waves, MW, and so on and so forth. You don't see. Does it mean it doesn't exist? No. Okay, maybe some people are able to see a ghost here, an entity here, a spirit here. I'm not saying it's true, but and most of the people cannot. Okay, so it's more to, because I'm pretty sure that when we have a testimony from an ancestor saying, oh, everything is okay here, I feel good, and so on, I'm in harmony, everything is perfect, and so on. Of course, it doesn't mean that you don't have the pain of, and you are not missing this person and so on, because this is a matter of fact, just one thing. Even if we believe in an afterlife, I mean, life after death, it's a matter of fact. We are in the density. So if you lose your partner that you love, you cannot feel his or her caress, you cannot make love, you cannot kiss, you cannot embrace anymore. It's a matter of fact. Okay, so life, I mean, death exists. It's a matter of fact. But just if we can feel, or at least feel the energy of this presence and so on, and also to consider eventually when personally we pass away, we will find back all this, and especially this person, you feel different, and you can be more in peace, and probably, it doesn't mean that you are happy necessarily, of course not, but at least you feel better already, okay? So, also the notion of to prepare yourself, to prepare oneself to death, okay? It seems to be weird maybe, but it's like retirements, okay? Retirements in French, retirements is retraite, which is the same word than retreats, okay? And concretely, you retreat yourself. It means that you have a second life. And why I'm precising? Because it's a parallel, it's a metaphor. This is important to prepare to be retired, okay? Why? Because some people, they are in busy life and so on, they are completely focused, they are like a work alcoholic, and when they stop, when they are 60 years old, 65 years old and plus, sometimes they just realize that they have nothing in their life. It's really shallow actually. It was just, they were completely involved like modern slaves, and they don't have center of interest, they don't have activity and so on and so forth, and then they are depressed because also they don't have the link, the social link with people and so on, the aura they had with the management, the responsibility, the power, and all these things. So it's very, for me, it's important and it's wise to prepare your retirement, the same for death. Okay, to prepare your things, to prepare even the mentality and so on is really important for me, because, and it doesn't mean that you are excited and so on, like you prepare your luggage to go to holidays. Of course not, but at least a part of yourself is just sending to your unconsciousness, okay, I did my time. You know, I wrote a book, a French book that I'm translating in English as well, regarding death. So it's a roman, there is more than 20 characters, and the two main characters, just to make it short, the pitch is Adam is the grandson, and George is the grandfather. He's 99 years old. The grandson is 30 years old. He's just freshly graduated from medicine, and he doesn't believe in anything. Okay, he's really rational and so on. And actually, he spent a little bit time before his grandfather passed away. Okay, and so he's 99 years old. So his grandson is just very exciting in the fact he will reach shortly, because he's quite he's healthy and so on, 100 years. And he said, no, I will not. He said, why? How come? And he said, I don't mind about the notion of record and the notion of quantitative dimension. I'm focusing more on qualitative life. And I feel the good moment to go away. I feel in peace with life. I clean up. He has been traumatized by many things. His father was violent. He's a former warrior, so he has been destroyed, the face and so on, by the First World War and so on. So he was violent, he was beaten and so on. So, but he's in peace with his father. He's in peace with his life in general. He was in conflict with his son. He had a very hard grief. He lost his child when he was 3 years old and so on and so forth. Anyway, just to tell you that he said, no, I don't want to go till 100 years. What's the point? And he compared actually life with the notion of being really tired. And you go to bed. For example, you have a lot of activity during one day and so on, and you go to bed and you say, oh, okay, oh, thank you for this day. Oh, this one, it was excellent. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, this I could have done and improved and so on. I will do better tomorrow and so on and so forth. And then, so good to go for new word, you know, to new perception and to sleep. And he says exactly that. And by the way, in the title, actually it's playing with the words, but just the symbol is, this is a union, you know, the little, the sign that you have in between two words. Actually, you say, but actually, what's the purpose of life? We come here and then we die. What's the point, actually? And he say, so he resumed by, this is just that. They see a tomb, 2 dates, okay, and this is just the birth and death. That's it, and there is just this little symbol. And he said, no, within this symbol there is many things, depending how you fulfill. Because some people, they were born, they lived 100 years, but they was waiting in the, they didn't do anything in their life. They did not enjoy life, they didn't share anything and so on. And some of them, other people, they live maybe 50 years. It's short, but it was really intense. Maybe they share a lot, they did many things, they share their happiness, they enjoy life and so on. Okay, so this is the main fundamental vision of qualitative and quantitative, and also on the fact that it can be a good moment to go to bed. It can be a good moment to say, okay, I'm tired now, and I just, it's not to choose and to suicide, of course not, but you feel it, your body feel it, and you just gonna go for another story eventually and so on. This is the point actually, to prepare yourself. And another advice is to, in this notion, the objective is to be reconnected to the invisible world. That's to say, to be closer to the deceased, okay, the ancestors and so on, to talk to them eventually and so on. Because the membrane is really thin, is up to us, according to our perception. Well, three very important points. I don't want you to think that this is proselytism. It's not because I think that, I feel that I want you adhere to that. Of course not. It's just personal experience, perception. It's really, I insist, it's just my own testimony. Just you do whatever you want with it. You know, it's like believing in God or not. We have been created, if we believe in it, at his own image, okay, or her own image and so on, okay. So, but then in many texts, Holy Scripture, Matthew 7:7, seek and ye shall find, or so on. So it's true that the more you seek, and the more it's difficult not to believe. But anyway, it's really something personal. Second option, we cannot demonstrate by A plus B death, okay? It's a matter of fact, and it's better like this. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. It's like someone who would like to suicide, and he hates life. He feels so bad. He's depressed, and he cannot even hearing this voice, this sounds, the butterfly. He want to kill them. He's really hungry about everything. He's living literally in hell, or even he has some pain everywhere and so on. He wants to stop all that. Okay, imagine, and he wants to suicide. Of course, we need to respect that, as long as we think we help him and so on. But if it's absolutely his own decision, this is also unconditional love, in the sense that, imagine if you say to him, but don't worry, there will be something after, there will be afterlife. He would say, what the fuck, stop, piss me off with that. I want to stop, I want to turn off. Not to think anything, not to think anymore, forever, you see? And this is a respect that we have to. And that's why the concept of God, or the concept of death, has to remain not demonstrated. It should be personal, otherwise it would be a dictatorship. It would be a tyranny. It would be imposed. We would not have the choice of believe or not. And this is the principle of free will. Keep this in mind. This is really important. Then, of course, we can just also help people to be more comfortable or peaceful with this concept without, of course, telling some, it's not fairy, let's say, stories and so on. It's not Santa Cruz and so on. It's not that at all. It is just something that's we can also help. So here it is, some different, not techniques, but more so advice and so on. For instance, astral travel or out-of-body experience helps to enlarge your perspective of consciousness. And I know that if astral travel is not a death, of course, because you're still linked with the connection. So, of course, it's a matter of fact. But what I try to explain that once you experience that, then there is layers and there is different shades of, you can just be out of your body and just floating around your body in your room is not the same than going very far away in the different spheres. By the way, far away is not far away, it's just energy. So it can be just here and now, but just with higher frequencies, so it's nothing to see. Or than astral as well. Huh? Both are possible and with different shades. But what I try to say, once you experience that, of course, you are more in peace. Personally, my first great experience that I explain in the book, I invite you to read, which is, this passage is mine, when the character was 21 years old. So the book is Sage Passage, Utopia is in English, of course. You can download for free in on my websites. Okay, and yeah, I had this experience when I was 21 years old, out of body experience, and I was thoughts, and I was perceiving or feeling the entanglements of the universe, the different cinema with different layers of screens, and at the same times and so on. It's almost impossible to explain what I felt, what I experienced. That's why it's like try to explain what is the taste bud, the taste of a tomato, I don't know, or smell to someone, or making love, or to be in love with someone. Feelings is really different, okay? It's really difficult to explain, to transmit that. But once you experience that, honestly, you feel completely more in peace. That's why also, second recommendation, to see the different testimonies of the NDE, okay, near-death experience, which are most of the time very similar approach and perception and so on. And this is quite breathtaking, because those who live that, experience that, they come back here down to earth, and most of the time they enjoy life much more, okay? And some of them, they say even, oh, I was feeling so good, I was feeling such a love that it was difficult to come back, okay, to come back down to earth, because we are limited. The limitation of the ego, okay, which is like a cell, okay, a cell, a prison, okay, from the great wall, in a certain extent, of the wholeness, okay. But then, once again, this is the whole quest of unity, unity, okay, to find back this unity, this wholeness, this fulfillments within you, okay, the universal dimension, the universal soul dimension, okay, this is the point, and this is the key number 3, if my memory is correct, okay, the quest of unity. We come from the unity, we embody, okay, we incarnate down to earth in the low vibration, we are fragmented, separated. To exist means literally to fragment, to separate from the great all, okay, and then we embody, but the goal is to find back this unity within us, okay. So, and then you transmute. The term cell is not a prison, egotic prison from the ego, okay? Ego, E-G-O, age God out, unity out, okay? So, but you transmute cell as a prison, but you transmute it as a cell of a gigantic body that we call life, the living. In a certain extent, you reactivate the fact that you are a part, an alveolus of the cosmic breath. And this is the notion of the resonance. As the great Sufi Rumi said, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean within a drop. Okay, keep this in mind, is precious. Well, the testimony of the near-death experience are important. Faith, okay, faith is nature, you're gonna say. Yes, but also you can also build it. It's like love, it's natural. You like or you don't like, yes, but you can build it also, You can do some actions also to reseduce your partner, to have some attention to your partner, some kindness and so on. Love and faith is a little bit like fireplace. You put some wood inside to feed it, to stimulate it. It's the same principle. And once again, I repeat myself, Matthew 7:7, but it's prevalent in many other holy scriptures, Upanishad, Veda, and Vedanta, and so on. Okay, many ones. Seek and seek, ye shall find. Okay, if you check, if you do some research, you will find some response, some replies, some answers, and so on. Okay, within life. Okay, so you study science, you study biology, you study astrology, and so on. You cannot. I mean, it's difficult not to believe. Like cosmos, I told you, cosmos means order. Okay, and when you see the all potential and all the good adjustment and so on, you can say the programmer is really a genius and this is divine. Okay, the good ponderation and the good, let's say, balance of all the forces and so on is kind of miracle that we are here. Okay, so just to keep this in mind. So faith that you can feed as well, and you can build your faith as well. The intercessors also, what is it? It's prevalent for a more over throughout on the planet. Okay, it's in all civilizations since the beginning of the times, or most of the civilization, let's say. Shamans, for instance, in Siberia, but not only in Mongolia. It's also everywhere in South America, in North America, Hopi, all the let's say so-called Indians in the North America, also in the Aztec, Maya, Incas, and so on, and all the tribes that you have all in the planets and so on. The animism in Africa, especially, you have also a lot here. You know, it's, in Bali, in Indonesia, people are Hindu, but a lot of them are also animists. And this is paganism. Paganism, it's badly perceived, is a natural belief, is a natural spirituality, like Stone Age and so on. Okay, is not with a tag, with a label, an institution, but it is a natural belief in a certain extent. So the fact so the intercessors, they are prevalent everywhere in the planet. Shamans, Druids or Celtics or in Europe, everywhere you always had one. It was a kind of priest. And what's the goal of a medium? Nowadays we're more talking about channelers, okay, channeling and so on. It's just, or medium. What is it? Medium in Latin means the center and also the vehicle, the link. This is just a link between the physics and the metaphysics. Meta means beyond. Okay, so concretely is the links between the earth and the sky, in between the visible and the invisible world, basically. So they are diplomats of energies, of spirits, of let's say, ancestors and so on. Okay, and they know the path, they know the rails in a certain extent, the motorway and so on, and they know how to access there and so on, how to clean, what are the spirits of the plants and so on and so forth. So this is also that they can have a link as well, but be careful because there is obviously a business with that, and there are a lot of charlatans. So it's important, if you have this connection with people, there should be some people recommended and so on. And once again, the goal is not necessarily to establish a permanent communication. Okay, you have a proof, that's fine. Okay, it's like you have a shamanic retreat. You are not obliged always to desire to be to have an astral experience. Life is here. The paradise is here, now, here and now, okay? It's according to our vibration, okay? So it should not be a flee. It should not be a way to run away your existence. And also the fact to establish too much relationship with the hereafter and to always go to see the intercessor and so on. It's not the point. It's just to be reassured in the sense, oh, everything is fine and so on. That's it. Like, I don't know, you go to holidays, or your kids go to holidays, and they just give you a call, hey, mommy, I'm okay, everything is fine, or daddy, everything is fine. Pff, okay, that's fine. You only need to discuss the hours and hours. They will count you back when, when they go home, okay? By the way, the link is with Spiritism. And this is something interesting because it's quite modern and trendy, fashionable now. We are talking a lot about Allan Kardec. This is a pseudo. He's a French guy, concretely, and he was in 1850. Okay, and what is interesting, this period of time is the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Okay, there is the first one and the second one. So 1850 till 1870. Okay, so with light and so on. This is the premise, the beginning of our modern world. Okay, department stores and so on. This is the beginning of the industrialization and thereby also the era of consumption, hyper-consumption afterwards, and so on and so forth, accelerating, let's say after 90s, in the 90s and so on. But it is the premise of our, so the Industrial Revolution, and this is the period of Marx, Hegel, and so on. They are rich German, and they went to, let's say, the yarn factories and also a clothes factory in Manchester and so on, and they saw the incredible working condition and so on. It was the beginning of Fordism, for which the word, let's say, the current word is based on that now. Okay, so basically, just to come back on the point, 1850 is the Industrial Revolution, but also this is the Spiritual Revolution. How come? Allan Kardec at this period is supposed to be chosen, okay, by as an intercessor. He was not a medium. He could not read anything. He had some information through other people, mediums, okay? But this was really serious as this period of time. Sigmund Freud in Vienna, for instance, was doing this kind of practice of spiritism, okay? It was serious stuff. Okay, a lot of the bourgeoisie in Europe and also in state and so on, in South America, lots. Nowadays, spiritism is a religion. Okay, it's considered as a religion, an official one, with the tag. Let's say there is around 30 millions of, let's say, practicants. Practitioners, and especially in Brazil, but more in South America. Okay, so at this same period, concretely, to make it short story, we can consider that in the past, people were believing that the impact on the invisible world was really prevalent with, let's say, witchcraft, with sorcery, and so on. And when you used to go to the forest, you were always afraid about bad spirits and so on, okay? So we can consider, I'm not saying Inquisition was positive, of course not, but Inquisition cleaned up that, okay? The black magic and so on and so forth. And in a certain extent, he creates also a taboo and science just to emerge, had to respect the institution, okay, of the prevalence, especially in Europe, but Europe with the colonization was almost the mainstream at this period. So let's say that science has been obliged to be really careful, like Galileo and so on, Copernic and so on, they have been obliged to renounce to the discovery, the breakthrough, and so on and so forth. And we can consider that nowadays science is still a little bit frustrated from this period. That's why now it's not balanced anymore. Okay, we can consider science is the new God, okay, the new religion, and what we cannot demonstrate doesn't exist. Okay, just to make a story short and binary speaking. Once again, for me, spirituality and science are combined. It's physics and metaphysics. Okay, it's duality. It's yin yang. Both are important. Mother and father. Inhale, exhale. It's the same. So that's why I love science, and I like to put the two faces of the same medal, for which I'm pretty sure that we, and this is my quest here, I'm trying to do some analogies in between connection, in between the different esoteric currents, and also with science, quantum mechanics, and it's not separate. Schrödinger, Einstein, Max Planck, and so on and so far, Tesla, most of them were, let's say, spiritual, but not necessarily following a dogma, but at least they were spiritual. And they have been taught, certain of them, Schrödinger especially, with the Vedanta, the Veda, and so on, the Upanishad, the Hindu holy scripture, inter alias, okay? But other were with other things and intuition and so on. What I try to explain is just at this period of time, that's why it's emerging now, because this is the good period for it, but it was a little bit the spirit saying the invisible word, knock, 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 knock on the door, saying, hey guys, we are here, we're still here, we have been banned due to Inquisition and so on for, let's say, almost officially it's 2 or 3 centuries, but the real impact of Inquisition is almost 5 centuries, okay? And because even at this period of time, in 1850, at the beginning, some people want to burn them as witchcraft, those who are just channeling and so on. So it was a little bit the spirit's ancestor saying, okay, knock, knock, knock on the door, we are here, we just want to reestablish the connection, the link, the Wi-Fi, the connection. And of course, they depict the organization of the hereafter, saying there is devil, spirit, let's say, and also positive one, angel, whatever the terminology and so on, affecting, modeling, shaping and so on. You know, a little bit like Pinocchio, okay, puppets. And this is a matter of fact, a lot of cases of possession and so on have been revealed. I'm not saying that this is an excuse for all those who go for a strike and they shoot people like this randomly, and then they say, oh, I don't know what's happened, I've been possessed. It's not that I'm saying, but it can be as well. But anyway, just to the fact that Allan Kardec and this effect, which is more prevalent now and coming back, was this part to reopen the door, to unveil this membrane, this thin membrane with the invisible world. So this is also important for that to know these principles of spirit and so on, to protect yourself as well, like, you know, a beam of light, or let's say a cocoon, or a bubble of light and so on. This is, for me, extremely important. Another technique is, which is used for certain extreme, of course, a little bit esoteric, I don't necessarily recommend that, is the tomb ritual. What is it? You just go in a tomb, okay, in a coffin, and you pretend that you are dead. Okay, so it's a little bit extreme. This is an old, let's say, pre-Columbian, so rites, South America, in Egypt a lot, some Sufi as well, esoteric Islam, and also in Buddhism and so on. But concretely, to make it short and not necessarily too much, it's just the fact to visualize your body in a state of putrefaction, as if you were dead. Okay, concretely, what is it? It's to kill the ego, or at least to put it back to a normal state of good servant and not a bad master, or at least a capricious kid or naughty boy or naughty girl. You see, so this is kind of this is the principle, to try to visualize yourself and just as if just to realize that this is just the envelope. This is just the envelope, okay? But what's the most important when you receive? I know it's not nowadays the case, but when you receive an envelope, what is the most important? It's not the envelope, it's the letter inside, and the sum of the all different letters creating words, creating sentences, creating senses, creating emotion, creating life, basically. This is the most important. Then I recommend as an advice also is to talk to the ancestors, and especially if you're in a conflict with someone who passed away. It can be your father, your mother, and so on. You can talk to them. You can also, I recommend that recently to a very, someone very close to me, to go to the tomb of her mother and writing and explaining orally, Mommy, with your words, how you feel it, as a ritual, as a, a symbolism. Just, okay, you did that, maybe it was not intentional and so on, but it affected me a lot and so on. And then she really felt like released. And this is important to say, to neutralize, to discharge your emotions, your bad energy, and just to, like your backpack of stones backpack, okay, that your burdens and your trauma and so on, and to say, okay, please give it back, or okay, I forgive you and so on. I don't forget, but I forgive, just to clean up the links, okay? It will help you, definitely. You can do it. And you can also talk to someone who passed away, just if you feel better and so on. Even if you have the feeling to look ridiculous because you think that you took alone, it's just therapeutic as well. It could be useful for you and helpful as well. So I invite you not to be ashamed of doing that, for instance. This is important to reassure the link and the common thread with the invisible world. To be in peace in general with the ancestor, because it allows them also to fly to other perspectives, okay? And it's a little bit like your child, okay? Maybe you want to keep them for a while, for a long time in your home, okay? But when they are 40 years old, 50 years old, maybe not, okay? It would be maybe problematic if they didn't find a partner to share their life, to have their own home and so on, whatever, and their own life, basically, okay? So it's the same principle. Don't be selfish in the sense to want to preserve and to keep the energy of the ancestors. They have their own life after life as well. Maybe after a while, 2 years normally, 2 years, 2 years and a half, they can fly for other horizons, new perspective, new chapter of the great book of life. You know what I mean? It's really important as a symbol as well. Well, this is also important for the notion of grief, to don't refrain from any emotions. You want to cry, cry, maximum. I remember for breaking outs, or even for grief, to fall asleep because I cried too much. But I didn't have anything to cry. I had no energy anymore. It's like when it's raining, it's raining. When there is nothing to rain anymore, there is no rain, it stops. It's the same principle, actually. Okay, so release, and so on. And, in the notion of grief, one thing I advise you is to remember the positive moments, to laugh, to have some happiness just to reactivate, to revive, okay, to survive and to revive these memories, the memories, to remember, to reactivate the members, to feel them as they still, because they're still present within you, within the universe in a certain extent. So, but just to be in peace with that, the memories, and eventually as well, this is for me important to let's say to not necessarily to always focus on when it will be better. Okay, is a natural process. When you endured, only time heals. Okay, and if you always take it out, you know, the strap on. Okay, it doesn't. It doesn't. You cannot. If I plant a seed, and I always try to bury. Oh, hey, what's going on, and so on. It will not. It will affect. It's the same for my healing process. Should take time. Is normal. Okay, crying is normal. Feeling the pain is normal. Feeling the emotion is normal. Feeling the sadness is normal. You know, in the book I told you I'm writing, I wrote regarding death. So it's a roman, and just to break a little bit, because it talks, the grandson is talking to the audience, saying, doing a speech that he wrote, like automatic writings through the grandfather. And then he just say, okay, I see a lot of tears, and it's a good sign, just because he wants to break the ice. He just wants to try to make it a little bit, and he says it's a good sign, because if it has been a motherfucker, nobody would cry, okay? And which is true. If you're missing someone, it means that this person was important. And this person left, in a certain extent, a fingerprint. And this is concretely this, what we let is the link between the two dates, birth and death. The experience of life, the fingerprint that we left, what we share, the good moments and so on. And this makes us, whatever we believe or not, eternal through the reactivation of the memories of other peoples. It's important for me too. And I will repeat what Einstein said for you really to be, to encourage and to memorize and to keep this in your mind. I believe in life after death. Basically because energy cannot die. It circulates, transforms, and never ends. We are made of pure energy. Our mind is made of pure energy. Our emotions are made of pure energy. Emotion, motion, E equal mc2. The formula of Einstein formula for energy. Okay, so keep this in mind, is really important. And if I can afford two metaphors, the first one is water. Okay, water. Whatever the state of water, if it's gas, liquid, or solid, like ice or snow, it's always the same chemical formula, H2O. All right. If I take a bottle and I put some water in my glass and I drink, okay, the water is in the bottle, the water is in the glass. If I okay, it's I pour on the table and I sponge, okay, with a sponge. The water is still inside. A part is in my mouth, a part is in the pipes and so on. And then in the river, treated or not, in the river, in the ocean, and then condensation, and then on the mountain through the snow, and then on the steams, and then on the river, and then treated, and then in my bottle, and so on and so far. This is always the same H2O since the beginning of life on this planet. Keep this in mind. It is a metaphor. This is the principle of Einstein say. Everything is a cycle. Everything is eternal in a certain extent. So for me, it's something more for you to be more comfortable with this concept. Okay. The second one is a metaphor of graduation, okay, and diploma. Imagine we are here down to here to experience, to learn things and so on. When we passed away, pass our exam in a certain extent, we are satisfied of what we did, or we are not satisfied of what we did. We can come back and just to, okay, I need to do it again. The same year of school because I was just partying all the time and so on. Imagine you cheat and you never study and you want to be a translator, an official interpret, and you become, but you have a fake diploma because you have no knowledge. And you have to translate French and English in a country, for example, in Cameroon, okay, and bilingual, okay, or Mauritius, and there is ethnical problems. And if you don't translate well, it can be a genocide, a war, and so on. But you are not able. So on your paper, you are. Imagine the responsibility. If you still want to be an interpret, from your side, you will decide to go back to school or to learn by your own and so on. It's the same. We come back as long as we consider that we experience and we learn properly. Or we can come back as well as just angel with fresh in a certain extent, and just to help people to open up and to awaken. Okay, this is also potential. There is many, let's say, options. But what I try to tell you, that's because I'm, as you know, professor for different business schools, MBA students, and I said to them, it's the same principle. They all had the diploma at the end, but depending if they are listening, they will have the experience and they will be largely in advance compared to those who cheated. It's the same. But secondly, sometimes they say, oh, we don't want to go to active life and so on because working is boring, is not, now we can partying, we are just passive. And I mean, don't believe in that. I swear to you, I definitely prefer to be active now, to be entrepreneur, to do my life as I manage and so on, that when I was passive, waiting, listening, a professor, honestly. And also I have purchasing power now and so on, I can enjoy life and so on. It's definitely better. It's just because you don't know. So active life, professional life is definitely better as I perceive it, compared to students. Is a metaphor. Passive life, active life. Okay, here it's just an experience. Is university, okay, within you, okay, and hereafter is probably Holy Grail is probably something higher and with not the same perspective. Well, I just invite you to think, to meditate on these points. This is only one key for you to open up the doors of the consciousness that you want. I just wanted to help you through that. I hope it did, okay? It's really up to you. As you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to home and to Dome. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.